I actually am internationally acclaimed because I have grandparents in the Netherlands and they love me very much.
And I caught myself looking at one, like dying raisin on my spoon, and I was like, am I a depressed 20-year-old or like a really health-conscious 45-year-old?
Guys, don't keep your pants off at an airport. It's just like my first piece of advice.
Okay, my name is Anya Voltz. I'm 18 years old, about to be 19, and I'm from Rutland, Vermont.
I'm Matt Cruz. I have been doing comedy since I was like 13 or 14, and I'm 19 now, and I go to Champlain.
My name is Colin Ryan. I am a speaker and a stand-up comedian, and I'm 35 years old.
When I was maybe 12 or so, I watched, and this is not age appropriate, but I watched Sarah Silverman's HBO special, Jesus is Magic, and I thought it was so funny. And I still think it's really funny, but I can definitely see why a 12-year-old thought it was funnier. And I was I'd never seen a female stand-up before, and that was definitely when it planted the seed.
I started doing comedy about 6 years ago, and I took a comedy class, and I only did it because it was the scariest thing I could imagine doing. I grew up loving stand-up comedy, worshiping comedians, but never thought I could do it. So when I actually signed up for a class, it was less about maybe I'll be good at this or it'll be part of my life in the future, and more about just, wow, why does this scare me so much? And so when I went to the class, I was like, wow, this is terrifying. That really struck me about the experience, maybe more than even trying to be funny, was facing a fear.
Burlington is not really a good comedy city as it is. It's a good comedy city, but no one moves to Burlington to do comedy. People move away from Burlington to do comedy. And so I feel everyone sort of is on the same page about that, where we all really want something bigger. And here you have to work harder and do more searching to get something bigger. Speaking of skipping 25 years of my life, I've been thinking about kids a lot lately for some reason. And I decided that I'm gonna be not a shitty parent. So I'm gonna be good, and I don't care. I think what I mean by not a shitty parent is that I don't care about the decisions my kid makes, as long as, or not decisions, but I don't care how my kid is as long as he's not doing heroin. So we're just not gonna live in Vermont. But
I think that comedy is a way to talk about the human experience, and to be on stage is to kind of put yourself in this vulnerable place, and everybody kind of relates to that. And then it's to sort of face that fear, I guess. But more importantly, it's to find ways to say things that people laugh and people respond to.
I really like when stand-up comedians can talk about just personal or taboo things, things that make people uncomfortable in day-to-day conversation. And there's just something so satisfying about that you couldn't say this at a dinner table, but here you are saying it in front of 50 dinner tables.
I do think it's the ultimate excuse, though. If you don't want to hang out with someone, you're trying to get out of plans. Oh no, I'm sorry, I can't that day. I have to get an abortion. You're out of those plans. There's no follow-up questions. They're got it. You have a lot on your plate right now. We're not going to go out and get pizza on Saturday. Joke's on you. Planned Parenthood isn't open on Saturdays. I just don't want to hang out.
And there are and some comedians have jokes about family members dying, or about things that if you were to just bring it up in just in a casual conversation, it would be uncomfortable.
My first joke, I don't tell it anymore. It was I was either 12 or 13 when I wrote this. It was about what I want to have happen to me after I die, with respect to burial or cremation. And so I said that I would like to be taxidermied and put in an easy chair reading the Bible in my children's house so that my grandkids would just never know that I had died, and they would just, live in the impression that they had a live-in grandfather who just read the Bible all day. And I don't tell it anymore.
I think I end up more understanding of what I was going through after having done jokes about it.
I got my associate's degree this past semester, and I didn't want to go back to school because I was like, I want to invest my time in stand-up. That doesn't necessarily mean I want to be a stand-up, but I want to be in comedy forever, and this is my version of college right now.
My first joke I ever told was in that first class, and I kind of went up on stage, and because I was really afraid, I decided to talk about fear. And so I said, can I tell you all the most useful piece of advice I've ever been given on overcoming a fear? It was in elementary school, and our teacher had us write the phrase, I can't, on a piece of paper, right? I, lowercase c-a-n apostrophe t. And then even though we were new at like working the scissors, she had us cut off the apostrophe t. Powerful, right? So now whenever I'm intimidated, I remind myself, I car.
Everyone has kind of, a couple things or one major thing in their life that they didn't really plan for, or that they hate, or that they're embarrassed of, or, that they feel like they didn't deserve. And that thing is what makes, a person as an individual really special. And you can choose to do with it what you want. Like you can grow from it, or you can, bury it away, or you can joke about it. And so I think that's what makes, individual comedians unique, is when you can talk about your bad thing.
I started seeing a chiropractor in Burlington because I just moved here and I can't just drive back to Rutland every time I need to be adjusted. So I went there and I told him about my scoliosis, and he was like, okay, and he checked out my back, and he was like, your scoliosis isn't that bad at all. Your chiropractor in Rutland was definitely over-exaggerating. It's fine. However, we do need to work on your crummy shoulders. He said crummy shoulders. Is that the technical chiropractic term for low self-esteem?
So anyway, my favorite joke to tell is probably the newest joke, whatever the newest joke is. A new joke feels so much more satisfying because it's risky,
As cliche as it is, I think dating is really stupid, and I try really hard to make jokes about dating that aren't dumb, I like joking about social interactions, and just times when you fuck up in trying to interact with someone. Anything self-deprecating is funny. Personal trauma is a really good one. If you have a unique experience like that I guess would affect your life otherwise negatively, and you can kind of transform it into art that not only brings people together but makes people happy. I think that's really great and special and fun. So yeah, particularly it's because there's been a lot of the religion in the news lately, and with the people saying their gay kids can't live at home anymore. And I just think that that's really fucked up, and I'm not going to do that because I don't care whether my kid is gay or straight or anything or trans. The only thing that I really, really want my kid to do is date women, because the other anything else is really bad. I would rather have a lesbian daughter than a straight daughter, just because it means that I have to do a lot less work as a parent. Because it's as a man who dates women, it's so nice. I come back to our domicile and it's clean, and they're doing work on the computer or whatever, and I'm like, hey, and then we hug, and then that's it. But as a man who is dated by women, I can only imagine how terrible it must be. Because I'm a good man, and by good I mean that I'm too busy with being disgusting to be terrible. Because you're either one or both. You know what I mean? Like.
So for me, whenever I wanted to talk about serious things, I always wanted to have fun with it. And I always wanted to get people to throw in responses, and that just always made it really funny to me. And then I've since been able to turn that into a program that talks to people about how they relate to their money through stand-up comedy, which is awesome, because it's a subject we never talk about. And when we do, it's in a very intense and sort of painful way, and it's a lecture and all. So to be able to laugh about that and to learn skills is, to me, kind of a sacred opportunity that I've been given.
You can't buy happiness, money can't buy happiness. That's one perspective. I mean, there's a pretty good argument against that, which is that you can buy a jet ski, and that's pretty close.
I think it's really important to like finally introduce feminism to comedy. Not that there haven't been people doing it already, but there's something weird about like every art form has like a feminist subculture, like painting and like dancing and singing. There's always like feminists that are like making really important messages through that art. And I feel like stand-up, there are people doing that totally, like Amy Schumer, Sarah Silverman, like there's many, like more than I could name. But it's still not something that is super widely recognized. Like stand-up is still very much like a boys' club.
But if I everything's fine. I'm not pregnant. But if I did turn out to be pregnant, I was gonna demand a maternity test. Because abortions are expensive, and I'm not gonna pay for that shit if it's not mine.
Man, but I decided I don't want an 8-year-old when I was in Resource the other day, and I saw this like 8-year-old boy and his friend who, both sucked, and they were with one of their mothers, and they were in Resource, which is a secondhand store, and their mother was walking around. They were following behind her, and one of the children had like a kind of like a goop-based toy, like a squishy thing, and he's following behind his mom, and so he's got the goop toy in his hands, and he's doing this probably like every 4 seconds. He'll take his hands and put them over his mouth, and then he goes, "Ah!" and like holds the goop out in his hand, and he's like, "Look, it's like I threw it up." And then he does it again, and his friend is just like eating it up. His friend might as well just like be like at like a Louis C.K. special. It's like the best moment of his life. And he's like, "Mom, look, ah, Mom, Mom," and she's like, "Oh yeah. I'm going to encourage your dreams." And he just keeps doing the thing, and then his friend is like, "Yeah, give me it." And then he's like, "Am I doing it right?" And he's like, "No, you got to do it." And it's like, they just go back and forth with this, some strange, alien tennis for literally 7 or 8 minutes. And the mom, I've watched reality TV, and I've never seen someone want to kill themselves more than this poor woman in Resource with her son and his shitty friend.
I like to say that when you are an awkward, blurting person, comedy is very easy for you, and real life is very challenging.
Brilliant. Cool. All right then. Well,
Cool.
Done. Very lovely.
Maybe I'll do the abortion joke tonight.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
If you wanted to, so I don't, so it's not just me awkwardly being like, oh. Because it's so hard to tell your stand-up jokes when there's a one-person audience.
And there's just this camera.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
For sure.
Cool. Well, awesome.